You probably know as well as anybody knows that the opportunities in this industry are impressive. And I think that you can all accomplish whatever it is that you exactly want to accomplish. And I think you just need to set your expectations to say, this is what I want to be, and then define specifically what it's going to take to get there.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm really excited to be here today and have a great guest with me, part of the podcast, the CEO of Roofing Life. And we got the opportunity to talk with John Derosa today. He just did a great speech for an hour and a half to help us do self-improvement and improve ourselves as a Monarch Roofing. So I'm really glad to have you here, John.
Oh, thanks.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
I missed you 2 years ago when you came to Myrtle Beach, our office, to do a presentation. And for 2 years, I feel like I get reminded how great the speech and how great you were with everybody, how much impact you create to our company. So I could not wait till this morning. So thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure. It's always fun to be able to come down and do work with the guys that are really getting it done out there, and you're definitely one of those guys. So it's my privilege. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And you and SRS, what you do for our company is awesome as well. It's a big help for success. How did you get started into coaching and helping contractors become better? Where's the passion coming from?
Honestly, I think, I've always, most people don't realize that I went to school for music. So I was a jazz trombone major, and I think I always liked the idea of like being on the stage and like that kind of attention. And then when I got into sales, I had really the benefit of being, a guest at speeches and training sessions of people that I really admired and respected, and thought, wow, I'd really like to do that. And then at one point I came across a statistic when I was in wholesale distribution, and my core customer were like remodeling and building material dealers. I came across a statistic that said that I think it was 90% of contractors will go out of business in 5 years, 50% in the first year. And I thought, wow, if that's true, then that's a huge cost for our customers to have to keep going out and replenishing contractors. So why don't we figure out how we can help these guys stay in business longer? So we created a program that was really more of a local program that focused on sales, pricing, marketing, and then the final session was all about kind of putting it all together and putting it into a plan and being able to take action on it. And I loved it. I loved the being able to work like in that way with people. So.
Well, we can definitely see it through your presentation that you're very passionate about what you're doing and you really want to help others grow. And we want to do the same thing with employees. We want to enable them to grow through our system. And you mentioned something like employee retention is huge for us. And one of the best ways to retain employees, the rank, I think one of the biggest complaint for employees is the training opportunity. What do you see one of the biggest mistakes maybe CEOs or contractors or general manager make are failing in their business? You said that there's some really strong number. 50% of contractors failing. It's too high.
Yeah, I think that, look, I would say that the reasons why that there's a lot of customers that are not doing well is because they just fail to differentiate. It's really hard to win the price battle or the value battle when the customer doesn't see much difference between what they're offering and what the other guy's offering. I also think that in a lot of cases it may just come down to the owner wearing way too many hats. You know that there's a lot involved in running a successful business, and in many cases we have, see contractors who act as the owner, the HR department, the sales rep, the guy who buys materials, the accounts payable person, accounts receivable person. They procure the crews. There's a lot that goes into all that, and then when you start throwing out other really powerful ideas that they say, wow, I need to do that. It's like, well, how do I do that, given the fact that I've got all of this stuff that I need to do?
So you teach across the country to piggyback on what you're talking about. Like you teach around the country, you've seen so many businesses, then you go and you're going to teach them, and they all understand why we got to do it, right? Like your speech are phenomenal, the steps are easy, it makes a lot of sense, and the way you present it, anybody can understand it. The execution seems to be the biggest issue. How frustrating is it for you? And you go see business over and over and over. You were talking about programs. Sometimes you go for 2 months, a few hours every week. This is amazing. How do you tolerate that? What happens with?
It's kind of a tough world that I'm in, right? Because at the beginning of the day, I'm the guy who wants to train people and give them ideas and have them get better, achieve what they want to achieve. But I also need to be respectful of the fact that in many cases these are really important customers. So as much as I might want to like get in somebody's face and say, you need to do this, I really want to kind of get in their house, I have to be, very sensitive to the fact that I also don't want to interfere with like the strength of that customer relationship. Now I do have some people that are saying, hey, well, I want you to hold me accountable, I want you to call me, I want you to follow up. And those are the ones that we tend to see the most results with. But it's just like I told you guys today. I could go into, and it's probably one of the most frustrating elements of this, right? I can go into a meeting and I could be in Chicago, for example, every year, the same day, with the same audience, with the same message, and the same person will sit in the front of the room and go, that's a great idea. And I'll sit there and I'll go, well, yeah, it's the same great idea that you've been telling me is a great idea for 10 years. Yeah. Are you doing anything with it?
Yeah.
And it's like they don't execute it. And I don't think it's because of laziness or because they don't see the value in the idea. I think they genuinely see it as a really good opportunity. But it's just like I said, in the grand scheme of everything that's on your to-do list as a business owner, where does that fit? So you need to, and this is why we always say, if you really want to scale your business, you need to figure out, you need to take one hat off to then focus on another area. So maybe if I want to grow on my marketing and I'm going to be focus more on my marketing, then I've got to let go of something else, which means I need to hire a sales manager, I need to hire an office manager, I need to hire a project manager, because your efforts to do all those things, it's counterproductive, and B, it's unhealthy. You can't, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, it's a hard commitment to make.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be cost effective with it. If you hire more people, you're going to be maybe more trucks, more tools, bigger office. So there's a lot of costs associated with it. But if you don't do it, then it's a vicious circle, right, of growth. But you've seen, again, a lot of different business. Is there like a size of business? You said, hey, Martin, you can get this structure that will work very well at 2 million is good, 15 million, 20 million. Is there a magic number where the owner can be working in his business instead of working on his business instead of in his business? Is there a magic target?
Yeah, I don't know that I could speak exactly to the size of the organization, but I do think that you probably know as well as anybody knows that the opportunities in this industry are impressive. And I think that you can all accomplish whatever it is that you exactly want to accomplish. And I think you just need to set your expectations to say, this is what I want to be, and then define specifically what it's going to take to get there. The good news is what we have today that we maybe didn't have 20 years ago is you have technology and tools and stuff that you can really automate a lot of processes, create workflows that make it very easy for you to kind of stay in touch with your customers. There's technologies that you can use to, like even our mobile app, for example, Roof Hub, you can track your deliveries and do your ordering and all that kind of stuff. So it does help free up some of the time to focus on some of those areas. But I think it really comes down to, everything that I try to teach from a sales perspective is it's all about the recipe. So it's like, what is the recipe that we need to follow that's going to put us in the best position to be successful? And if we follow that recipe and we put the ingredients in and we use the system, we're going to be successful. It's the same thing with every other element of your business, right? It's how are we attracting leads? What are we doing? How are we managing our people? How are we creating processes? How are we building culture, which is something that I know is you focus on. So, and that's all really, really important stuff.
That's amazing. Yes, in the structure.
And you got to constantly be recruiting people. I would, everywhere you go, if anybody impresses you, you should be trying to hire them.
I like that. I like that a lot. And recruiting, and we'll go off a little bit on this, but recruiting has been one of my main goals. 2020, when COVID hit, we went on the offense to start hiring people because there's so many people who are looking for work. We hired a corporate recruiter to start creating this attraction, a lot of Zoom meeting, which is awesome, right? We can do interviews in 10 minutes, click, get the next one, there's waiting room, so it's a lot faster, so we can pull a lot of talent. And then the hurdle comes because you can have the best talent in the world if they go out there and just try and, like salesmen, you go and hey, you go train with this guy, he's going to show you how to do sales. That doesn't work, right? So we create a training system to be able to have 2 weeks with new salesmen, and then they can go to different locations to grow from there, and it's constant touch. Okay, what we learn from this is the 2 weeks is phenomenal. It's a great base. But we need more than that. It's not enough, and I think you're creating something that is going to be very special with university online. You were talking about this a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some content that anybody or our SRS customer, we can go and keep continuing education.
Yeah, so what we're building is we're kind of revamping our entire website, and one of the things that I'm going to try to do this year is to kind of fortify like a resource center, a contractor resource center within the website, and that will include, video content as well as like marketing collateral and stuff that you guys could repurpose for your own business, and I think it could be pretty valuable. Some of that stuff is on Roof Hub today. If you log into roofhub.pro,
Yep.
there's a training tab. There's just not a lot of consistency in the way it is out there. So we're really going to try to clean it up and make it a little bit more professional. But one thing I did want to mention that I think is important is when you talk about training, there's been all kinds of studies out there that talk about the need to not focus so much on training people. If you really want to move the needle, if you really want to drive results, it is all about just setting expectations and holding people accountable. So even when we create a sales process for you guys, for example, and we say, hey, here's the recipe for sales success, within each of those 7 stages of the process, there are specific skills that sales reps are going to need to have to be able to execute at the highest level within each stage of the process. If any one of those stages they don't have the skills, they're not going to get the result in the end. And what we also need to recognize is that within each of those skill sets, there should also be a set of observable behaviors that we should, as managers and coaches and owners, be able to, if I'm riding with you as my sales guy, I should be able to watch you on that sales call, not take over. I'm just going to watch you do your thing. And there's certain behaviors that I should be able to see that you're executing and you're doing it well. Because if I find out that there's certain behaviors that you're not doing well, that becomes the coaching opportunity. That's the coaching component. Because sales success and sales consistent success is all about executing all of the different behaviors within the system and utilizing the system and the process that for the benefit of allowing you to really have the greatest opportunity to sell the customer. And like I told your guys today, the last thing that you want to do as a coach or a trainer is to constantly focus on the result. Did you sell the job today? How many did you sell today? That's important because we want people to celebrate the wins. But if we're always focused on just go get the deal, we're not really identifying, well, where within the entire sales process are they struggling? Because only when I identify that area can I really affect change. So training is important, but my go forward in 2021 would be let's stop training and let's start figuring out how we can be better coaches. Yeah. Because then we get everybody firing at the best level.
No, it's incredible. In one of the ways we're trying to reinforce a lot, and I'm not sure if you're able to do this, you have that opportunity, but I love to go with the guys to do some sales calls. Yep. And most of them are better at salesmen than me, hands down, no problem. But there's little things I can see, I can record that we can go back and study together. Say, hey, this maybe you see the homeowner's reaction. Well, this probably would have been a better solution. Hands-on training. I think that works even more than it even more complements it very well. Once you have the base.
I've done that in the past. I mean, I've done that, and I would certainly do that with your guys. I mean, that's fun for me. The challenge that I have is like I have a real hard time keeping my mouth shut.
You want to interject, right?
We were on a call once where the rep, where I was, kind of introduced as he's a new guy with the company. He's just here for training. And the rep, it got to the point where the customer had said, well, we really need to think about it. And the rep started to stand up to leave, and I literally like grabbed the rep and kind of sat him down in front of the customer, and I says, well, if you don't mind me asking, what is it that you need to think about? And we wound up having a really productive conversation that turned into a contract. And when we got in the car, the rep literally started reading me the riot act. Don't you ever speak up at my meeting. I go, we got the deal, dude. He goes, I was going to get the deal. I'm like, you were not going to get the deal. You were getting up and you were getting in your car. So it's but hopefully we can learn from that. But yeah, I applaud you for that, man. I think that more owners should ride with their reps just to kind of see what they're doing. And hey, how many times have you done that and you've maybe learned something that says, we need to have other people doing that?
Absolutely. Yeah. It goes both ways. Yep. The more you give, we talk about this, about leadership, right? The leadership is you give to others, it comes back to you 10 times. It says that in the Bible somewhere, don't quote me on this, but I know the 10x mindset, right? If more you give, more you get. People are very scared, even in our own company. We have 30 people here today, marketing and sales. There's a little bit of barrier. Hey, I want to share with you because I want you to become better. But as soon as they start to understand to be selfless, like you talk about today, and share information, we learn from each other. It comes back so much. Yeah. Let me tell you a little story because you were talking about pricing earlier, and you got my attention. So I shouldn't repeat this to anybody, but
Okay.
one of our location, I won't tell you which one, they did secret shopper, which, I never do. I didn't know about it. I was mad about it, but the information we got was very mind-opening, about pricing. We always talk about this. So we have 5 estimate coming in to us from one of our secret shopper. And when we start comparing the pricing, we were the lowest price out of all the 3, even the Golden Pledge included. In their market, that area was complaining about being too high on pricing. So when you were talking about, explain to me a little bit more about the value perceived. That's what we're all about. Now we crank our numbers up, and it's been helping a lot because nobody wants to buy a cheap roof, right? You compare estimate to not estimate, they all really look the same. It doesn't matter, but I want to buy something I want to pay for it because I feel like it's better, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot to be said. I mean, there's psychological principles in pricing that says, the higher it's priced, the better it's perceived to be, and there's some truth to that. And I also think that, if you're providing what is perceived to be like a white glove type of service, you would be willing to pay a little bit more. And it's just like I showed you. I mean, Vanderbilt University did a study where they determined that people felt that nicer restaurants should actually charge more for the same Budweiser that you'd buy in a bar on the south side of town. And they actually felt like it would be unfair if they didn't pay more for that. So the thing I always challenge, sales reps to think about is how are you using the sales process and your entire approach, how are you using that in a way to build context into your selling price so that the prospect says, I'm expecting this is gonna be more money than everybody else, and it'd probably be unfair if it wasn't. You know what I mean? So, it really comes down to value. And I think that you guys do it good because your brand is solid. And I think that wherever you guys are, they know who Monarch is. And I think that allows you to kind of get into that door a lot easier, and it warms things up. But once they're in there, I think your reps need to really leverage all the things that you do with your entire team for the benefit of providing a really great experience. And all that stuff needs to be wrapped around the questions that we're asking during that needs assessment stage. What are your concerns about starting a project like this? What is your experience in hiring a contractor? How long have you guys been thinking about this? Have you met with anybody else regarding this decision? These are just questions that we're asking because I've got to try to figure out what's going on in the mind of my prospects so that when I deliver my story and my presentation, I can speak to them in a way that makes them feel like we were created just for them.
I love it.
And what you're doing in doing that is you're increasing the perceived value of doing business with you, and hopefully that value that you bring, or the perceived value that you bring, is greater than the additional cost required to do it. So if you're $2,000 more than the less expensive guy and your value is worth $5,000 to the customer, there's a pretty good chance they're gonna wanna buy from you. Now they're still gonna tell you you're high, because that's kind of their job. They're gonna say, well, you're $3,000 high. But I can then ask them to measure, the value of doing business with us against that cost and sell them on the fact that when you think about it, we're probably your least expensive choice. Wouldn't you agree with that? And that's the whole goal of the prospect. We don't want to be, anytime a rep comes to us and says it was all about the price, it's like, then you failed, brother. Because you didn't give them anything else to consider. That's all they saw is different. That's all they saw is different. And one of the things I teach guys when they say to me, if customers just, well, you're $2,000 higher than the other guy, I mean, my response to that, well, when I was selling windows, if somebody said, your price is $2,000 higher than the other guy, I would go, seriously? We're usually a lot higher than that. Like, what are they quoting you? It's like, I don't make any apologies for the fact that my price is higher. If my price isn't higher, then I screwed something up. But I always say, when they say your price is $2,000 higher, I say, well, do you recognize the differences? Or is that something that we're gonna need to talk about? Because I'm gonna want them to recognize, I know my price is higher. And I want them to tell me, well, yeah, there are some differences. All right, what do you think some of those differences are? We're gonna have a conversation about that, and then ask them to measure the value of those differences against that $2,000. We're really not that expensive.
I love it. It's great. And you keep asking questions to move the sell forward, to get all the objection out. I think that's the biggest thing. All those questions are so good, because if you don't know the objection, then you walk in a way like you don't even know. I'll call you, I'll let you know later. We're getting other bits. You got to keep asking questions to find out more. One of the good questions that you mentioned today that we don't really ask or teach is, right before you show the proposal, you said, how much you think it's going to cost you today? I thought it was pretty impressive, because then you set the bar. Did that bring the value up or not? And hopefully, like you were talking about, if they say, oh, $18,000, I think that's what it's worth, and then you're at $13,000, $14,000, you might be leaving money on the table, but now the price, which is probably the biggest objection, especially in retail, now it's out of the window.
Yeah, I just want your listeners to be a little careful with that strategy, right? Because if we're going out and we're executing a process that's built around a system that's designed to build context, right? So the customer's coming to the conclusion that, wow, these Monarch guys are probably going to be really expensive. Then you're in a pretty good position where you could say, hey, look, when you consider who we are and what we've done and all the choices we've made on your project, if you had to guess, what do you think this is going to cost? Hopefully they're going to arrive at a number that's significantly higher than you have on your sheet of paper. Because at that point in time, once you drop if they say 18,000 and you drop your price and it's 14.5, they think, wow, that's actually pretty good. And now they can't tell you it's not worth 14.5 because they just told you they thought they were going to spend 18.
Yeah.
The thing you don't want is you don't want 30 sales reps running out and saying, what do you think it's going to cost? And the homeowner go, I don't know, 8,000? And then you throw a price of 15. If that happens, that's good information to build on, because then I realize that I am not doing enough to increase the perceived value associated with me. And maybe we need to dive back into the process and the system and figure out where are we falling down. But the real goal is to see, what does the prospect think that we're worth, or this roof is worth? And then if I can give it to them in the form of, it actually works out being lower, and I can assign to that a monthly payment just to make it even more affordable, then it's like, let's just do this. What are we thinking about?
Let's just do this. Let's just do it. Yeah, You said a few times today, and it seems like one of your passions is be a student of yourself. And we can always say, like, I want to learn from myself, but you're so well prepared in your presentation that you know if you don't get it, okay, I'm going to review my process. Somewhere along the way I made a mistake. It's not, you're not winging it. You have the process, let's review it. I'm going to study myself so I can get to the end result to improve. That's amazing. And I just got one more question for you. And you told me a little story about the wow effect earlier, how important it is to get attention sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I would love for our audience to hear the story about the business card.
Yeah, I think the point I try to make with that is that, you know, sales is you need to be tough to be in sales. And I think, you know, hopefully everybody agrees that. I mean, when I do even sales coaching with our own people, like at SRS and stuff, and they're like, yeah, I'm prospecting, I'm trying to convert all these contractors. I mean, the first thing I always say is, thank you for doing that. Because prospecting, it sucks. I mean, and sales is challenging. I mean, it's shrouded in rejection. It's shrouded in people who just are, you've been across the table from customers that you're trying to establish rapport, and they're just like, they're not even, giving you anything. It's tough. So I always say to people, try to have some fun with that. Don't take that stuff too seriously. And I had a guy when I was working for a shingle manufacturer that a roofing truck was in the gym where I used to work out. And I could never find the guy in the gym, because I'm not afraid to go up to somebody and say, hey, you're a roofing contractor. Well, I sell a shingle and love to talk to you. That's what I'm paid to do. But he never wore his logos in the gym. I never knew who he was. So when I left the gym, I would just every so often I would stick a business card under his windshield wiper and just hope that he was going to call me. And it started to really tick me off that the guy never picked up the phone to call me. So I wound up going to Kinko's, and I had my business card blown up into like a poster size, and I folded it up until it was about like this big. So it was probably about that thick. And I stuck that under his windshield wiper. But this time I sat in the parking lot in my car, maybe about like 50 yards, 75 yards away, waiting for him to come out because I wanted to see his reaction. So he comes out and he walks up to the truck and he looks and he's like, immediately was a little bit shocked by it, pulls it out from underneath his windshield wiper and starts to unfold it. And as it became obvious what it was, he literally shook his head and started to laugh. And as he was doing that, I saw him reach into his bag, pull out his phone, and he began to dial my number. And when the phone rang, I answered the phone, and I'm like, I'm in the parking lot watching you right now. I said, this is worth. I go, you don't even have to agree to meet with me. I go, this is worth its weight in gold. And he goes, what is your problem? And I said, my problem is you won't call me. And he goes, well, what is it that you want? And at that point, it was just like, well, I want to talk to you about how I think I can help you guys make some more money. When do you want to get together? And he goes, well, what are you doing now? So I said, let's go grab some coffee. And we wound up, developing a friendship, and he wound up doing some business with us, and it kind of worked out. Now, they all don't work like that. You know that. But you got to just find some different ways to kind of have some fun with people and enjoy the process. Don't be so serious about it.
Love it.
I had a guy once on a sales call, on a window sales call, and he says to me, I don't want any big dog and pony show. And I go, you know what, I believe I ever do a dog and pony show, but here's what I'm going to do. And I ripped off a piece of paper out of my pad and I wrote a word in the paper and I folded it and I slid the paper over. I said, that's going to be our presentation safe word for tonight. I go, if you think I'm getting too deep in the weeds and I'm getting too much of a dog and pony show, you say that word and I'll just pack my bags and leave. Does that seem fair? And he goes, are you serious? And he opened up the word and it was like, I think the word I had in there was like more cowbell or some stupid, Will Ferrell reference or something. And he just laughed and he goes, that's pretty funny. And I go, I'm serious, man. I'm not here to, waterboard you with a presentation. And it's just all about ways of just trying to have some fun with people, Learn to have fun with them.
Love it. Well, thank you very much,
John. Thank you.
It's great to see you and great to have you for hours
pleasure.
today. And you're always available to us. It was a short
Absolutely.
notice. You took the flight to come here. COVID, there's a lot of things going on. You could have said the excuse and said no, but you're all action oriented.
Well, you guys are pretty important, so we'll make it happen.
Thank you very much. You had your QR code. A lot of our guys got your information. What's the best way to reach you? Any social media? Best way?
Yeah, not really into social, but you can just email me, Derosa, Derosa at srsdistribution.com.
All right. Well, thank you very much, John.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.
Well, this was the John Derosa's podcast. It was great to have him on the show today. We'll learn about process, procedure, committing to your craft, have fun with it, and execute. Okay, the execution is very important, action-oriented personality. So I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for having us.